The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about the insane.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, friends.
Welcome into another episode of Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
And I am Samantha Jones.
And here we are with episode 66.
66.
What is the topic?
This is conspiracy theories. How did I know you were going to do that?
Awesome.
Yep.
I like to talk about these things.
Yeah, we've got a lot of interesting stuff to talk about.
Cool.
Seems to kind of fit in with what's going on in the world now. There's so many conspiracy theories out there about everything that's going on, too, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
A lot.
A lot.
Well, before we jump into this one, because it probably will take some time, anything from last week?
I do. First, I wanted to announce the winner of the contest I was doing to give away a free astrology chart.
Oh, cool.
And the listener, Bob, he is a fantastic listener friend of ours. He won this. I haven't done it for him yet, but I'm going to be doing that this
Congratulations,
week.
Bob.
Yes, thank you, Bob. Thanks for listening, and congratulations on that. I'm looking forward to doing that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then I wanted to read this. This is from one of our listeners. Her name is Kaylee. Hold on one second. I was queued up here, and then I got distracted by looking up Deep State. Okay. Let's see. This says, "Good morning, Samantha. I hope you are enjoying your weekend. I wanted to reach out and tell you how awesome it is that you dive so deeply into your research for the podcasts. I love it. I just got around to listening to Astrology for Beginners, and it was awesome. I honestly would have never thought that astrology was something you weren't already into. There is definitely a lot to know about in the stars. It is so fascinating. I definitely agree that your birth chart tells you 110% more than a horoscope. My mom has been into astrology as long as I can remember. She has done a lot of research, and what she has noticed is that Eastern astrology is more accurate versus Western astrology. I personally have never dove too deep into Eastern astrology, but I thought I'd mention it to see if you would want to talk about it on the next astrology episode. I I've been wanting to ask you, have you read Dolores Cannon's book, The Three Waves of Volunteers and the New Earth? So I wanted to read this for a couple of reasons. First of all, this book, I haven't read it, but her and I talked back a little bit back and forth, and she said that it's a great book. It kind of fits in with what's going on right now. Yeah. With moving into the fifth dimension. So I just want to pass that along so people know that's a good read. And the other thing is, I know nothing about Western, Eastern. I didn't even know there were different types of astrology until I got this message.
Yeah, I didn't know there was a difference either.
So it's definitely something we'll have to do another episode on, and we'll put that in the episode. I'll have to look into that. So thank you for the recommendation. Exactly.
We're learning.
That's why we're beginners.
Yeah.
So thank you, Kaylee, for that message and for those suggestions and
thank you, Kaylee,
for the book.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That's it. Your wrap up?
That's my wrap up.
Your weekly wrap up?
That's it.
Cool. Well, let's hop into episode 66, Conspiracy Theories.
Yes. So I asked our group, first of all, what conspiracy theories they wanted to talk about. So this episode is based on what they said. And if you want to be involved in our episodes like that, you can join our discussion group. Just search for Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses discussion group. Yep. One thing that did come up in this is that, because I gave them a list of things to choose from, and I also said that they could add their own. But the one that almost everybody that was involved in this said that they wanted to talk about was the sex trafficking.
Interesting.
And so I asked them then if they would be interested in an episode, a standalone episode on that topic. And everybody, I think except for one, said very interested.
Cool.
So we're going to do that maybe next week. Right. I don't know yet, but sometime in the next few weeks, I think we should do that. There's a lot coming out in the news too about all that's going on. And if you're not filled in, I think that you should be filled in before more comes out. Yeah. Which is probably going to be soon.
Probably.
So that was kind of how we based this episode on. was what our listeners wanted, the other things they wanted to talk about. So first of all, what is a conspiracy theory? It is an explanation for an event or situation that invokes a conspiracy by sinister and powerful groups, often with political ties, when other explanations are... Okay, wait, hold on. By sinister groups and... Okay, when other explanations are more probable. So it's something that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Did I explain that right? I kind of stumbled over myself a little bit.
No, I think we got it. Okay. We understand.
Yeah, you got it. Okay. Let's see. Conspiracy theories are generally based on not on evidence, but on the faith of the believer.
Yeah.
A lot of things get started, like one person will post something on like a Reddit board, and then it just takes off.
Right.
It happens a lot. Like right now, we're not going to really get into it, so I'll talk about it now. But like Britney Spears, there's one of those that Save Britney 2020, just because of what somebody said that they saw with her, and now it's blown up into this huge thing.
Yeah, you kind of...
Yeah, it can go anywhere.
The problem for me is that, you know, when the evidence in certain situations is brought forward in our society to come to find out later, whether it's days, weeks, months, years, that's false.
Right.
So then you have to start to go, well, wait a minute.
Right.
Does that mean everything is based on fact, and then that fact is actually fact?
Right. You know, for myself, I'm going to be completely honest that I have never been one to even look at conspiracy theories. I really just have thought that, you know, these people that look at these are, I don't know, crazy, whatever, that they're bored. Probably is more of what I was thinking. People want something else to grab onto. They want to make it something bigger than it is. Right. The problem is that I was brainwashed, and I didn't know that I was brainwashed, because how would I know? I didn't know any better. I was raised to believe certain things. I was taught things in school, or, you know, so you just blindly believe these things that you're told, like you were saying. You just...
Well, when these facts, like I was just saying earlier, that some we come to find out aren't really actually true, the best way to get society to believe these is to put them in textbooks.
Yeah.
And for the kids to be reading them at a very young age.
Yeah.
Like in history classes and things like that, where then we're retracting things later that have been maybe suppressed or discovered.
Right.
But now you have this whole generations of generations that believe it this way.
Right. Honestly, like intuitively, what I feel before we even get started with these conspiracy theories is that we need to open our eyes. A lot of us, myself included, are very blinded by what we've been told. We need to open our eyes, because if we did and we started doing more investigative research on our own, we would see that things aren't what they seem at all.
No.
And that's a harsh reality to have to wake up to. But doing this research, I kind of have.
That goes for so many different, I don't know if it's so many, but many different genres, or not genres, but areas in our reality.
Right.
Okay, let's take UFOs, for example.
Right.
That they've been around. There's been sightings after sightings, decades after decades, and the government just wants to say they're not real.
Right.
Then now all of a sudden, out of nowhere, just on a Tuesday morning or something, they decide to post on their website unannounced that they are now acknowledging that these are true.
Right.
After years of telling us that these weren't true.
Right.
Okay, so I have to start in that area.
Right.
That's outside of our world, you guys. That's other civilizations showing themselves to us.
Right.
For a reason. If they really wanted to take us out, don't you think that would have happened a long time ago?
Right. Exactly.
No. They don't want to see us hurt ourselves or take any of our behavior off this globe anywhere else. They'd rather see us change it first and then move on.
I agree.
So that's one area. Then you look at our own political thing and within our own world, not in the universe, but our own world, and how certain things are happening, and they're very questionable. So there's a lot of it.
Right.
In different areas.
There's a lot going on right now. And really, if you think about it, we're kind of being gaslighted by our own news agencies, or, you know, I remember when, was it W? Yeah, that was in office during 9/11, and he got on the TV and he was so brave and he was so, we're going to get the people that did this. And I believed every word that came out of his mouth because he seemed so with us. Do you know what I mean? But
right.
the thing is that what's he going to do? He's going to come on there and he has, whatever's going on, he's not going to tell the truth. That's what the point I'm getting to is, like, if there's classified information, they're not going to tell us the truth. Why? People think that we know everything. Well, if we know everything, why are there classified files? Right. If we know everything, we don't know everything. We don't even know a percentage of what's actually happening. And that's scary. Yeah.
And, Kennedy's a great example.
Yes. And that was the first one that we were going to talk about, actually.
So, being is that they had said they are going to release that 30 years later. Mm-hmm. And here we are. Well, it was way further than 30 years, correct?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly how long they said it was going to be, but I know that it happened. I want to say 2016 was the year, and that Trump said, okay, some of it. And so they released some of it, and the rest was extended until after the election.
Yes.
So, right,
so that's kind of what we were discussing in a previous episode, that there's all this information that's coming to light now. Not just about the global consciousness and being aware of other things around us we can't see.
Right.
But it's also being aware of the knowledge that's kind of been suppressed.
Right.
In our society.
Right.
Whether it's technological advancement type of knowledge or knowledge about events that happened.
Right.
Yeah. It's coming forth. And you can feel like this, I feel like it's like a funnel, and there's so much to be fed to us, but it's being shoved through this really tiny pipe. They're trying to filter it, but it's just it's squeezing its way through because there's so much.
There's so much. Yeah, it is a really crazy time, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's get on to talking about JFK.
Okay.
Because that was, like I said, the first one. So the JFK assassination, it happened on November 1963. Kennedy was in a motorcade in Dallas, Texas, when he was struck by 2 bullets. He was 46 years old. Lee Harvey Oswald was arrested 2 days later, and then 2 days later, Oswald was killed on live TV. So I asked our listeners what their thoughts were on this. Do they believe that Oswald acted alone in this? Was he the only one? Did he assassinate the president by himself? Or was there something else deeper behind it?
And that also happened on live television.
Yes. They both did. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So our listeners, there wasn't one of them that said that they believe that Oswald acted alone. But that's what we're led to believe. Yeah. So this is a conspiracy theory that I can get on board for sure. I think that this is something, if there's that many people that think, wait a minute. Right. What's going on here? Why, Yeah. So there's a lot of facts behind this. I didn't put a lot of them down, but Kennedy was having issues with the CIA because he found out that the CIA was trying to kill Castro. So that's one of the reasons why it's possible that the CIA could be involved in this. Yeah. But I did ask who our listeners thought was involved in it. And let's see. Most of them said that they believe that the CIA, FBI, or another government agency was involved. That's what most people believe. Right. And that the mob, maybe. There were a few people that said maybe the mob. And it was aliens. We did have one person that said it was aliens. Well, you never know. I mean, I don't. Stranger things have happened.
I don't really feel the mob, honestly. I don't. I know that Kennedy was a huge civil rights activist, and he was big on that. And so to me, I look at what's going on today. Yeah. And you look at the way that Kennedy died, the way that his brother died, and the way that Martin Luther King died. Right. So whether Oswald acted alone, I don't know. Lincoln was also another huge civil rights activist. Okay.
Yes.
He was trying to do something good. Was he really trying to completely solve the situation? I don't really know. I think that he didn't really view them as equal, but he was trying to move it in that direction.
Yeah.
And God bless him for that.
Yeah.
But he met the same demise.
Yeah.
So I can't help but feel like maybe there's some sort of group that isn't into this.
Right.
Okay. Whether that's, you hear claims about Freemasons.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have, what's the one that,
Well,
I'm trying to think of. I'm drawing a blank on it. But anyways, so there's speculations on all these different underground type of groups that could be involved with it, or the Muslims, or whoever it is.
Yeah.
But I can't help but think that there's an awfully similar situation going on with all these people that represented the same thing. Mm-hmm. Kennedy was very much into the space race. I think that he was very aware that there was other life visiting us, and he wanted that to be public. He wanted us to advance with our knowledge and our technology and start utilizing the other life that is visiting, because like I said, there's a reason they're visiting, and it wasn't to take us out.
Right.
Because they would have done that already.
Mm-hmm.
They're much more advanced.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So with Kennedy, I almost feel like there could have been multiple reasons, but the civil rights one really jumps out at me. I got to be honest.
Yeah. I definitely believe that there was some kind of government agency or something involved. He knew too much. I think that it's not as much of a problem now, it seems, with our presidents for whatever reason. But back then it was like they seemed to know too much and get too involved in this, and then somebody's got to go. It's like mob mentality, kind of, but within the government is kind of what I feel with this. It's something.
Well, it's a very
definitely something was right.
Military and things like this are trained in such ways that we wouldn't even know half the stuff that they experiment with.
Oh, for sure.
But I tell you one thing that's prevalent, and this is going on in just our own public civil society, is disinformation. So when you hear a situation like Kennedy back in the 60s and the Cuban Missile Crisis, okay, that's what was all over the papers, and that's what was all over the news. It's the Cuban Missile Crisis and Castro and But could it possibly be for 1 second that that's merely just like a curtain that they're waving in front to get everybody's attention off something else that's probably really the reason?
Yeah. Probably. I mean, look, COVID gets big and they're like, but wait, there's aliens. There's aliens.
That's what I'm saying. Right. Why do you pick that time to all of a sudden announce that you're not denying there's other life and these objects are real?
What was great about that was everybody was just pretty much like, yeah, so we know that already.
Where you been, White House? Or, Pentagon, whatever.
Nobody cared. That backfired on them big time.
You made a funny comment the other day that, remember when, however many months ago it was, that our worst fear was the Rager out front of Area 51?
Oh, yeah. It was a year ago. Yeah. It was exactly a year ago when our biggest fear was that they were going to raid Area 51. And I'm like, damn, I wish I had 2019 problems.
But they really had porta potties set up for the event.
Now, yeah.
That was funny. Anyways.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you remembered that. I totally forgot about that. But anything else with JFK that you can think of on that?
When I look at the footage, it's hard for me to really determine whether there was other people involved, because you look at the way his body moves when the impact of the bullets hit, and sometimes it does look like to me that one came from the front, but one also came from the back.
Huh. Oh, interesting.
But I wouldn't be the least bit surprised that Lee Harvey Oswald, because he was a sharpshooter.
Right.
Okay. I think a Russian trained, or some other country trained, sharpshooter. And I wouldn't be the least bit surprised to find out he was hired.
Right.
And promised all this shit.
Right.
Excuse my French. And then
started talking shit.
And then they had somebody else come in and just take him out.
Right, exactly. Yeah, because if you think about it, I mean, we don't know what happened when they took him in on that, right?
Yeah.
He could have been like, you know what? I'm going to tell. I'm going to tell who's behind this. That whoever, the FBI, the CIA, and maybe they were like, oh, you are, huh?
Yeah. I don't really recall what happened to Jack Ruby, but I think that Jack Ruby, who is the one that assassinated Oswald on live television, I think he just died in prison.
Yeah.
But I think he was a known mobster.
Oh, yeah.
So that's where they want to bring in the mob.
Right.
But
makes sense.
Again, just another hired hitman promised a bunch of stuff. And then what are you going to say when you've committed murder on live television and you're sitting in jail and you're saying, they hired me to do it?
Right.
Most of society is going to be like,
okay,
you're in the mob, buddy.
Right, exactly.
So we're not really going to believe what you have to say.
No. Yeah. Very good point.
That's just possibility.
Yeah. All of these are just possibilities. We really don't know until, even if they, when they open all of the classified information, we still may not know. Just because it's classified and it's in there doesn't mean that that's all of it. They could have been like, I'm not going to put that in there, you know? So we just have to kind of go with it and make our own conclusions.
And how do we know that even if once they release all this Kennedy documents, how do you know if it's all there? That's
what I said. Yeah. You don't know. No idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know like how they black them out and some stuff you can't read, but, and they go, okay, here's 215 page document about Kennedy, but it's really a 580 page document.
Right, exactly. You don't know what's been left out. No. And they can pick and choose. And I don't trust it.
We could go far as back as the Bible and say that not all the books in the Bible are there. Mm-hmm. Why?
That's what they do.
Because the Catholic Church didn't want them in there.
Right. You pick and choose. Yep.
So why is this either being withheld, or why is there disinformation?
Right.
It's just
there's more.
I can't help but ask.
Right. Yeah. We know there's more. There's classified information.
Yeah.
And so hopefully someday we'll find out what it is, but
yeah.
I don't know. So the next conspiracy theory we're going to talk about is really prevalent right now. It's called QAnon. And I asked our listeners if they were familiar with this, and most said that they were not familiar. I asked if anybody followed this and if they were followers of QAnon, and nobody said they were. So this is pretty, I think, maybe new information to a lot of our listeners. We did watch a video on this on YouTube. It's very complex, and a lot of the stuff that we watched was very old. So what's actually going on in QAnon right now, I'm not really sure of, but I just want to give you a basis of what it's about. QAnon is a pro-Trump theory that the president is heading up a master plan to launch a counter coup against members of the deep state. And I'm going to read to you what the deep state is.
And their theory is that he was hired by the military to go in. Deep state, I think, is meaning like into political.
Yeah, here, I've got the definition. Yeah. Let me read it. Let's see. What does deep state mean? The deep state is believed to be a network inside the government, bureaucracy, intelligence agencies, and other governmental entities. The deep state supposedly controls state policy behind the scenes, while that democratically elected process and elected officials are merely figureheads.
Yes.
Okay, I could see some of this. Uh-huh. Yes, as far as that there's things going on in there that we don't know about. But let's continue on. How did this get started? On October 28th, 2017, someone calling themselves Q posted cryptic messages on an internet forum. He claimed to be a high-level government insider with access to U.S. classified information. He claimed he was instructed to post intelligence leaks in order to inform the public about POTUS's plan to stage the counter coup against the deep state.
POTUS is the president.
POTUS is the president of the United States, yes. So that is the gist of it, is that Trump is in office as, what were they saying, as role-playing. They were saying like LARPing.
Yeah,
it's
like he's paid, he was hired by the military to infiltrate our internal government and to basically weed out the bad
Clean it up.
seeds.
Yeah.
And so, but he's basically acting.
Yeah.
And when you look at it, you go, okay, here's a man that did not come from politics. Mm-hmm. He came from real estate and business, and then he ends up in television.
Right.
Okay. For quite some time. Yeah. Now, does that mean anything like he's a great actor? No. But they may have, if this is true, who hired him may have saw what he was sort of portraying there and thought, that's exactly what we need.
Right.
Somebody that is so cutthroat, so cold-hearted, that it's going to create a smokescreen.
Right.
It's going to get people's attention off of it because they're so up in arms about what this guy is saying and what this guy's doing.
Yeah.
So that is the theory, that it's all military based. And the reason for this is because how are they kind of making this connection that the president is the one that has ultimate authority over the military?
Mm-hmm.
So if the military hires the president, okay, now they can say, well, he commanded us to do it.
Right. Exactly. A lot of the things that I read on QAnon and that we saw in that video were almost predictions.
Yeah.
They were things that the guy, this Q person, he gave specific dates of when he thought that these things were going to happen.
Yeah.
And they never happened.
Right.
And they've continued to not happen. I had a friend actually that messaged me, I want to say it was February. No, it had to be March because COVID had already started. And I can't remember exactly what she said, but she gave me a very specific date because she's a believer in QAnon.
Right.
A very specific date of when COVID was going to end, and it was all going to be opened up and leaked out that this isn't what we thought it was, and that Trump's really this and that. And that was sometime in April, and that never happened.
Right.
So none of these actual QAnon predictions really have come true.
He has given updates.
Yeah.
That this person has given updates.
He has
One of his original one was like, yes, he does.
Yeah.
One of his original one was like Hillary Clinton will be arrested on such and such date at such and such time.
Right.
And then he came back a day or 2 days later and said she was detained, not arrested.
Right.
And released, basically.
Right.
But they're claiming that the Clintons, Obamas, the Soros, I don't know if I'm saying that right. There was 4 families.
Yeah.
And one was removed by Donald Trump, essentially. And that was, there was a raid in early 2000s of Saudi Arabia. And they arrested like 11 very wealthy princes. One of them who happened to be one of the most, if not the most wealthy man in the world, that was funding terrorist groups. Mm-hmm. So, and they seized all these people's money and property, and they're arrested. So they're saying that was the first removal of this beginning of we're going to clean up not just our nation and our deep state, but we're going to clean up the global political system.
Yeah. I don't see anything getting cleaned up.
I don't know.
I just see more and more and more and more things happening.
Yeah.
You know, I can see a little bit of it, like I said, because he does seem to want to just be like, nah, that's not right. That's what you hear on the news. There was no such thing as fake news until Trump came along.
Right.
So, you know, and there's always two sides to every story. So do I believe that there's fake news? Yeah, probably. They want to keep us under this certain, you know, level of control or whatever it is.
I think people believe that certain news stations were geared towards certain viewpoints.
For sure.
But that term wasn't really being thrown around, the fake news term, until he came along. Mm-hmm. So. Yeah,
it's so I don't know. There could be truths, and, you know, I think a lot of conspiracy theories have bits and pieces that are truths. But the thing with this one is that nobody knows who this person is.
No.
He just went on a forum and he just told people that he has classified information, and people latched onto this.
Well, he didn't just go on a forum. This forum happened to be, basically, I can't remember the first page or platform that he posted on.
I can't remember the name of it, but I'd never heard of it before.
It had a lot of people on there, and his got so much attention that they asked him to move to his very own.
Yes.
And he did. And then the CIA infiltrated it and got in, so he shut it down.
Right.
But he has been logged in as posting from, like, buildings that have computers that require full-on security clearance to get into.
Right.
To even, not only the building, but the computer themselves.
Right.
So
sometimes I think we forget that people lie.
Yeah.
That just because maybe this person does have classified information.
Yeah.
Just because maybe, whatever it is, wherever he is, that he's there, and that proves that maybe he has that information.
Right.
It doesn't mean that that's the truth.
Mm-mm.
It doesn't mean this guy doesn't want to gain notoriety by being Q, which is what he's done. Right. We don't know this person at all.
Well, that's why this is theories. But
there's so many followers is what I mean. Like,
yeah,
it's a theory, but QAnon has a lot of followers. I can't remember who it was, but one of the governors did an interview. I can't remember which state, but he had a QAnon mug behind him in the interview. I'm like, really? Yeah. So this is deep into the Republican Party, especially. So we have to remember with these things that form your own opinion. Look at things logically, too.
I mean, yeah. I mean, try to fact check as much as you can.
Right.
But I would say not just one side if you're really trying to wrap your head around something. Right. Because, again, it's so hard to tell in our age and day and age and time, like, what is the truth?
Right. It is. You don't know. I don't think any of us will really figure it out. But you have to search for the truth, what you think the truth is.
I think a lot will come out.
I think so, too.
I don't know if that's because what they're saying, what QAnon's saying about Donald is true, or just this sort of revolution kind of feeling that's happening with society and saying enough of this BS and this governmental oversight that's happening and the oppression. Maybe that's where, I don't know, but
I don't either.
I definitely don't believe that it's as cut and dry as it we're presented on our little television every day. I don't believe that.
I don't either. And I feel like I was very naive for many years thinking that I should just blindly believe what I see on the news.
Yeah. But even as a little kid, I remember, not a little kid, but, a young kid in school and reading history books and maybe World War II in particular about Hitler. I didn't buy that he killed himself.
Nope. And you know what? We're going to talk about that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's just something intuitively that I always felt.
Yeah.
Is there ain't no way this guy was going through all this to put a gun in his mouth.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
No way.
Well, let's talk about it.
All right.
This is one that actually it touches me personally because my grandfather was in a concentration camp in Germany and my grandmother grew up in Holland during World War II. And I heard so many stories of just horrific things that she went through. I didn't really know my grandfather well. So I honestly didn't even associate the fact that I was Jewish until recently. That's how much I knew about him,
Right.
So I do feel this one inside, This is a tough one, but it's an important part of history because really it shows us where we just want to believe certain things without fact.
Right.
Nobody saw Hitler's body after he died. There was no showing casing of it or anything.
No, there was a photograph of they supposedly took them after they found them, after they committed suicide, him and this woman.
Well, should we back up and start with what happened?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think we should do that. Okay, so the death of Adolf Hitler, April 30th, 1945, was claimed to be a suicide by a gunshot for him, and then she took cyanide, is what they said. Eva Baron.
Baron, yeah.
Yeah, his wife. They had only been married for a day and a half. He was 56 and she was 33. On May 30th, 1946, 2 fragments of skull were retrieved from where Hitler was said to be buried.
Yes.
Okay. So this is all that they really had. They have this picture like you're talking about.
Doesn't look like him.
It doesn't
It's a
look
body
like
double.
him. And I think that's what we saw, right? Is that the same picture you're talking about that we saw in
It's
that?
the only picture of.
Yeah, it didn't look like him. And I mean, yeah, after a few days, a dead person's not going to look like themselves,
Right.
but it didn't even really match his features at all.
Didn't.
You know? So right there, you're like, well, okay. And so then this story comes up where the Soviets, they go in and they dig up what they think is Hitler, right?
Right.
And they take pieces of what they found. They took a piece of skull, like I just said, and they took something else, but it didn't talk about. It talked about that in the video. Do you remember? Teeth.
Yeah,
was
'cause
another
it's saying
thing.
it didn't match his.
It didn't match.
Didn't match his dental records.
So it says the left piece of the skull had a gunshot wound. Okay, so Russian Federal Archives held on to it, and it was believed to be the proof that Hitler was dead. And then in 2009, the samples were finally DNA tested, and it was found to be that of a woman under 40.
Yep.
So, you know, and these teeth, anybody can do that. He had like 2 teeth, you know. If you know that you're going to kill yourself and there's people that are not
Right.
that you're going to kill yourself, but that you're going to escape and pretend you killed yourself.
Yeah.
You don't think Hitler had a plan?
Oh, he had a plan.
He had a plan.
He lived much longer than we thought.
Yes.
He in seclusion.
Yeah, I think
And I
so.
saw a documentary, I think on Discovery or National Geographic, about some locations that they found, I believe like in Argentina or somewhere, but in kind of in a jungle-ish area, that these buildings were built, and they weren't built by people from that area. You could see that the way they were built were much more of like a German construction. They found Nazi artifacts, medals, I think some photographs, some documentations, and they just hid.
Yeah.
Now, there's the theory, too, that they were learning warfare in Antarctica and built a bunker that was as big as a city. I mean, I don't even remember how big they said this was, okay? America launches a classified mission to that area saying that they were looking for, I don't remember what the heck they said they were looking for.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like it was like a geology study.
Yeah, something.
But they sent naval ships, destroyers, aircraft carriers. There was something like 100 planes just on this aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
They sent this all to Antarctica. They called it some silly geological thing. I think they were looking for this place and couldn't find it.
Yeah, you could be right.
So if they were so convinced that Hitler was dead, you know, were they just saying that because they didn't want to cause panic?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
What if that whole regime did go there and are there and are just multiplying underground?
That could be.
Because the theory was they had everything they needed, factories, everything under this.
Yeah,
They've been building it.
A theory on there.
And they showed some examples of some of the structures they had built underground in other areas. I think it was like, I can't remember.
Oh, I can't remember.
If it was Poland or something.
Yeah,
it was incredibly huge.
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
yeah, how they did this was impressive. It really was. So it's very, I mean, anything's possible. And that's where these conspiracy theories come from.
And they say that the Nazis took all, or Germany took all its money, the Nazis, and put it into, I forget what they called this, but like big companies. Like Volkswagen. I think Siemens.
Yeah, they did say that.
Things like that, where that was a way for them to not have their money taken from them.
Right. Makes sense.
They would just invest it into the country.
Makes sense. Well, one of the theories that you had talked about was that they escaped to Argentina. So let me tell you a little bit more about that. So Juan and Evita Perón, they were, I don't know what they called it over there, prime minister, presidents, whatever. They were in charge, quote unquote. They were said to be Nazi supporters and may have helped him and Eva Perón. That's the theory. A book written called Grey Wolf, The Escape of Hitler. The author claims that in 1954, Eva Perón left Hitler and moved to a different part of Argentina with their daughter, Ursula. So they claim that he had a daughter, Or did he didn't have a daughter that he took with him?
No,
this would have
I
been
don't
something
know.
that this author's saying that they had afterwards.
Oh,
Is what I'm taking from it, because he didn't have it. Hitler died in 1962, according to the author that wrote this book. There were said to be many sent with Hitler to Argentina. So, like you were saying, they don't believe that it was just Hitler and Eva Braun. They believe that more people went with them.
yeah.
You know,
There was a group.
yeah, it's kind of wild when you think about it. And this is something that when I first got my abilities, you had asked really a lot of things about different things in the past. Right. And Hitler was one of them. Is Hitler dead?
Yeah.
And he's dead now.
Right.
But did he commit suicide? I don't believe for one moment that he commits suicide.
I asked your mom that.
Yeah.
One time when you were, because, you know, like I said, I like to get into all the, like, who built the pyramids and what happened here and what happened there.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to go as far as to say I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I'm a conspiracy theorist.
You are.
So I asked your mom in one of these channeling sessions about Hitler. Mm-hmm. Did he really die that way?
Yeah.
And she said no. And she said, actually, he's been here a lot less longer than you think he has.
Right. So, yeah, he survived.
Yeah.
I have no doubt about that. I did ask our listeners what they thought, and 60% said that they believe that he killed himself. 35% believe that he faked his death, and 5% believe that someone else killed him. Yeah. So, these are all things, like we've said, that you kind of have to do your own investigative work on and see how you feel about it. But there's a show that we watched on Prime Video. It's called Conspiracy. I want to say it's like a red background, if you look for it on there. And that's where we watched this about Hitler. It's a series. And the first one in the series was about Hitler's suicide.
Right.
It's like perfect, because we could do that.
Right.
So we haven't watched any more, but that was where we got a lot of our Hitler information from. So if you're interested in learning more, I would definitely recommend that series on Prime Video.
I think that a lot of information is withheld from us. And I don't know if this is because if there is a deep state or an elite group of government or scientists or both that study us and know about us. But I think a lot of this is to eliminate uprisings,
right?
To eliminate revolutions and panic and pandemonium. So I think that America was not convinced that Hitler was dead at the end of World War II.
No.
There was newspapers in circulation. I don't know if it was Great Britain or America, but newspaper circulation showing like maybe 10 different photographs at that time of what Hitler could possibly look like. There was no Photoshop at this time. These people like drew these like funny mustaches on him and stuff and glasses, and they removed his hair. How they did this, I don't know how they did this, but so obviously, even at that time, a lot of people were not convinced that he was gone.
No, exactly. I think a lot of people were so glad to just see it over that they were like, oh, okay, he's gone. By whatever means he's gone, it's over. And I can understand that, because that was a horrible, horrible man. Yeah. So I can almost see where people would just be like, whatever. We don't even need the proof as long as he's gone.
Yeah.
That's
why I think it was just easier to go with that to keep the risk of pandemonium from happening. Okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
He's gone. We guess he's gone.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's Hitler. So on the list of what people wanted to talk about, this was an interesting one that I decided to throw in here, is about COVID. I think we need to talk about it a little bit. Gabe said he didn't want to talk about it. So sorry, Gabe.
Sorry, Gabe.
Yeah, but everybody else does.
We got to talk about it.
We do need to talk about it, because I understand now how when you're in the midst of something, these things start. When the conspiracy theories start when you're in it, because you're searching for anything.
Right.
You want something to take this away from you. And if you can believe that it's not real, or believe that it was created this way or whatever, maybe that helps you. And so people right now are searching for the answers. But
it's hard to swallow. It's a big
It
pill.
is.
Like, why would humanity want to release something on itself?
Right.
Well, it's not humanity as a whole, first of all, that wants
Right.
to do that. It's certain people.
Right.
And again, we've discussed this. There is good and evil,
Right.
you know, in this world.
Mm-hmm.
It's not devils. It's your own doing. It's your own free will.
Mm-hmm.
That's good and evil.
Right.
Do you want to use your free will for good and do good things? Do you want to do it for bad? We need to stop blaming some other person or entity for what we do.
Absolutely. We have to take responsibility for ourselves.
But so, yeah, I mean, it's like, this is what's happening. And I would go as far to say, this isn't the first time this has happened.
Right. Well, first of all,
Let's talk about HIV.
Right. Yeah. Well,
I don't believe for a second that came from somebody having intercourse with some primate
Right.
or whatever it was. That's not what happened.
No. This is one theory. There's a lot of people that don't believe that COVID is real at all, but let's examine this one first for sure.
Yeah.
As far as that it could possibly have been created in a laboratory. That is definitely, I would say at this point, what I believe. Every once in a while, I'll run across an article that says, no, scientists have proved that it wasn't. Do you really, honestly believe for a second that they would tell you if it was, that they would go, oh, you found out our secret? Of course they're going to deny it. Come on. But I don't believe for a second that this was, like you said, that this one was what, somebody eating a bat or whatever it was? No. I believe it was created in a laboratory.
Yeah. And I mean, look at the way it behaves.
Right.
As far as climate, temperatures,
It's defying everything we know.
Look, and so the last thing to do that we were kind of exposed to was HIV.
Yes.
It was like nothing we'd ever seen before.
Mm-hmm. It was the same kind of fear, the same kind of questions. We didn't know. We kept grasping at straws. I remember when it first came to light and we knew nothing about it. And my mom and grandma didn't even want me to go in swimming pools because they thought that you could possibly catch it in swimming pools.
Yeah.
We had no idea. It was so unlike anything we had ever seen.
Yeah.
So, yes, it's a very, very good possibility that, like you said, that's another one that was created in a laboratory. Why do they do that? Well, biological warfare is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
That's a reason. I don't think that was the reason with this one, in my honest opinion.
Yeah, I guess what I've read and what we've kind of got into with HIV was that it wasn't intended to, it got out of hand.
Right.
It wasn't intended to do that.
Right.
But
whatever the intention was.
The intention was, the intent was there regardless.
Right.
They just didn't foresee or look that far
Right.
about what could happen. Right. This one, its intention, who is it, and even HIV, who is it directly intended for?
Right.
I don't know who COVID's directly intended for.
I don't either. I thought I did. The way that I kind of look at this is, okay, so let's say that it was created in a lab in China. Then what happened? Was it an accident? Did it get out as an accident somehow? Or did they start infecting people on purpose? Were they trying to population control? Because China is huge. It's huge, but there's so many people in such a small area that they probably, it's China. Sorry. But they do things that we wouldn't think about here in the United States. They do things like that. So it's very possible that they let this go as some kind of population control. Does that mean that everybody in the whole world, every leader in the whole world is in on it and knows about it?
Not necessarily.
I don't think so, but that is another theory. That it is, global political hoax for control.
Well, I mean, we all have heard about Big Brother. We've all heard about New World Order.
Yeah.
And that this has been a prediction. I believe this is something Nostradamus talks about.
Yes, a lot.
That this will be a very big campaign and a push towards it. But I ultimately don't feel that it will be, in the long run, successful.
Right.
It will feel like it'll be perceived as it is.
Right.
But even that can be overthrown.
Right.
The same way that even the strongest nations don't always stay the strongest nations forever.
Yeah.
It just, things change.
Yeah, they do. And we're definitely going through a big change right now. And I see how people are kind of grasping at these types of things. Why is this happening? Well, even if it wasn't created in a laboratory, even if it was released, by somebody eating a bat or whatever, it's not fake. I'll tell you that as a psychic, as a human, from what I see from people going through. I have clients that are nurses.
Yep.
It is not a hoax. That part of it, it's real. And that's what we all need to grab onto, is that even if some people don't want to take it seriously, as like our leaders, we within our communities need to take it seriously, because all we're doing is, if this was China, if this was natural, we're allowing for this extinction to happen. Yep. This is a mass extinction. There's so many people on this planet that we're not really going to notice. Do you know what I mean? But that's what's happening. We are ridding the planet where we have to natural population control. Unfortunately, there's a lot of reasons why this is happening, but it's happening.
It is, and it's not fake.
No.
It's beginning to hit even more closer to home for me, because I'm starting to now see people on Facebook that I know or Instagram that I know that are getting it.
Yeah.
Like there was a guy I knew that I worked with. He's probably about 30 something now. He was at a place celebrating his wedding anniversary because he didn't have the wedding there because of the COVID, but they went back there to kind of, run down memory lane about where it was going to be.
Yeah.
And then he said something, and then 24 hours later, I'm being rushed to the hospital in an ambulance, and he's talking to his wife in the post saying, "I love you. Hang in there. I'll see you soon." I was like, holy crap, man. This is not baloney.
No, it's not.
And for those of you that want your rights to burn your masks and not walk around, you know what? You're taking your own life in your own hands. It sucks because you're now also potentially affecting other people around you.
Right.
But more importantly, you're doing it to yourself. So I'm not taking any chances with that.
Mm-mm. I've been told, and I say this, my mom has told me over and over again to just stay home. Don't travel, don't do nothing. Just stay home until this is over. Yeah. Not just for the COVID, but for everything else that's going on. And that's advice that I would give. Just let it ride out.
Yeah.
Just, there's nothing open anyways. We don't need to be going to big parties. We don't need to be congregating in, busy cities. Yeah. Don't do it right now.
We'll
just
get back to that.
Yeah,
we will.
We will.
There'll be some level of kind of social normalcy again. But we have to nip it in the bud.
Right.
And I know this is all about money and
the economy.
money and money. But you know what? Money is not going to buy you a new set of lungs.
No.
It's not going to buy you a new life. No. And it's not going to buy your family peace of mind after you're gone.
Right.
So keep that in mind. But it will change. But this is but like the, we were talking about Titanic and that, what if that thing was shot down by a torpedo and we've been lied to. But I believe that actually went down the way they said it did.
Right.
But when you see that iceberg, right? That the tip of that iceberg, it's only sticking out. We'll just make a theoretical number here. It's sticking out 30 feet of the air.
Right.
Okay. But what you don't see is hundreds of feet below you.
That's right.
So think of it in that analogy. Right now, we're seeing the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
But in the next probably 6 months to a year, I believe there's going to be so much information coming at us, coming out.
Yes.
It's going to feel overwhelming, people.
It already does. Yeah. To be quite honest, it already does.
It's going to get a little heavier.
It is. It's going to get worse. Yeah.
But it's going to get better. That's the beauty.
We're really going through a mass change here. And even if, the political stuff doesn't affect you, because you said it yourself earlier today, that it's it really doesn't necessarily affect us right here. It's just affecting us psychologically. You know what I mean?
Right.
But this is a time of mass change. So even if that doesn't affect you, the political stuff, and the COVID doesn't affect you in a certain way, there may be something that did. And that's what you're supposed to change while this is going on. And I really feel like through this, every single one of us is going to be challenged and is going to have to change something. That's what this is for.
Yeah.
This is a time for us to, whatever your deal is, you know, we all have our own things that we needed to do. For us, this is a good time for us to get stuff together with our businesses. It's kind of put things on hold. It helps you. If you see how change like this can help you, you can see the positive in a negative. And that's really hard. That it's hard to say, okay, there's millions of people that could potentially die from this.
Right.
And I'm going to look at it positively. Well, what else are you going to do? You're going to sit here and you're going to dwell about it.
Right.
I can't sit here for however long this is going to go on for and feel sorry for myself because I'm trapped in the house. I have to make the best of my time. And I think that's what they want us to do while this is going on, is for each and every one of us to take this opportunity to do something with it.
Yeah, nobody can kind of tell you what it is you need to change.
No.
You have to sort of soul search that. And you'll hear yourself tell you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, or they'll tell you, whether it's you or them, but you'll hear yourself kind of hone in on it and know that I really should change that. But yeah, it's a lot of change.
Yeah.
In such a small period of time. But I think it's so necessary and it's so important, and it's kind of been just being stuffed in like this pressure cooker and stuffed and stuffed and stuffed. It's only natural that it's going to release. It's got to release. But I mean, there's going to be a lot of changes, and it's a psychological game, kind of like how you were saying that we're kind of naturally homebodies.
Yes.
And I don't really go out and about all the time anyways. But being told that I can't go out there, or if I go out there, I should avoid massive groups of people, have a mask on, then I start going, ugh.
It's not worth it.
Yeah. It's like I want to go out because I'm being told I can't go out.
Right.
But then when I get out there, I don't really want to be out there because the environment isn't really that great.
Yes.
So then you look at, what is this doing to certain people's lives? How is it hindering certain people's lives, and how is it enhancing their life?
Right.
So, yes, you might take a hit, like the business plans kind of get put on hold, or you're waiting on something to be heard at court and it's being on hold. Yeah. Like for us, we were ready. Yeah. I thought the band was ready. Yeah. We were ready to go out and play, like firing on all cylinders. And I think we were on some level. Right. But this put us in a situation to like, okay, guys, it's time to redirect the focus. Right. Now make it about, you really want people to share your music? Well, then you're going to have to record it. Right. And this way, you're going to get it out to a lot more people a lot quicker than trying to go gig after gig after gig. Don't get me wrong. I can't wait to play live with these guys. I really can't. But that's not the focus. Right. It was changed on us, and we embraced it. Yes. And I'm so grateful, because now we're all hearing it and going, holy moly. Right. By the time this is done, we are going to be really ready. Right. Absolutely. Even more ready than I thought we were. Right. So. Absolutely. I agree with you. I think we all have one of those stories, you know, and that's what we need to look at, is when those things happen during this, those things that we feel are a setback, they may not be a setback at all. It could be like, for you guys, I really feel that's the universe's way of helping you. Yeah. Okay. I have my own thing that I'm going through with an estate that was supposed to be settled. And guess what? There's no courts open. Right. So it's put off another 6 months. And who knows what's going to happen then. And I got mad when I found out. Yeah. But I know it's happening for a reason. I don't know what the reason is right now, maybe. Yeah. But I will know. And that's one thing that's changed with me through this, that now I see that all these things happen the way that they're supposed to. And you can sit there and you can scream and cry about them, or you can make the best of it and go with it and see what happens, because you just never know. There's a lot of reasons why, for me on that subject, it's been put off already to this point, and I can see why. Yeah. And it was important that it's been put off. Yeah. So I can see why maybe another 6 months is important. And then you therefore gained value out of that lesson. Like you recognized it, you saw it, as opposed to where a lot of us want to go, just be impatient, hurry up, why is this taking so long? when is this going to, and I want the answers now. And it's
Oh,
like,
yes.
well, first of all, I don't think all of us could handle all the answers right now.
No.
And things have to happen in certain orders. Mm-hmm. And I can see that in my own life in the last couple years.
It's very important.
More prominently, that things have to happen. And I don't mean just in a musical sense, like with the band. I mean with
Everything.
our daughter,
Yeah.
with our marriage, with
Everything.
my focus on career. It all has to happen in steps.
Yep. In a
We're all
certain order.
connected, you guys. So one plays off the other. It's a chain reaction, and so trust me, it's all going to click.
It will.
For everybody.
But don't sit in, if you fall into that depression in this, if you're not seeing this light side like what we're seeing and you're like, this is bull, I can't do that, you got to pull yourself out of that.
Yeah.
Because if you allow yourself to sit here in this place, you will. You got to push yourself. You got to believe, and that is hard, but that's what the universe wants us to do, and we're supposed to have faith at this time.
Yeah.
That we just need to, put on our big girl panties and deal with it as it comes and
I
keep
don't
going.
wear big girl panties, just in case anybody's wondering.
That's fair. Okay. Well, for those of us that I guess wear big girl panties, I don't even know what those are. Whatever. It's a term.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, you're funny. Anyways, whatever you put on, whether it's big girl panties or whatever.
Overalls.
Right.
Yeah.
Just don't sit here in this spot and wallow. Take this time as a learning experience and try and do the best that you can with it, because it is put here for a reason.
Yeah.
More than what we see right now.
Take the time and, grieve, mourn the past, but welcome the present, the change, because it's going to do good things for a lot,
right?
If not everybody, if we could all look at it.
Right.
And realize there's so much going on this planet right now, and it's for a reason.
That's right. And you can be stubborn about it and not wear a mask and try and be like that. These things that are happening are not necessary. It's not necessary for people to go into stores and yell at workers there because they're told to wear a mask. These are the things that if we could eliminate them, we could move into the fifth dimension faster. I don't know why people do that.
Right.
I will never understand that. What did that person do to you?
Because humans just naturally don't like to be told they're wrong, and they don't want to be told what to do.
Yep.
And especially when you're in a country that, but this is a free country.
Right.
Okay.
You wear a seatbelt, don't you? That's the law.
But it wouldn't, it wouldn't be that quick if it was reversed and that person got COVID.
That's right.
And realized, oh my God.
That's happening a lot.
Now I've subjected my family to it after boasting about all this.
Yep. That right there should tell you it's real.
Yeah. I mean, that you want to talk about swallowing your pride, and facing death at the same time, potentially. That's a big one.
Chuck Woolery.
Yep.
Great
example.
I don't think he has it. His son does.
Thank you, Chuck, for being a big enough of a man to say I was wrong.
Yep.
And to come forth, even after you said what you said, you were still a man. And I think I respect you for that. I know your son respects you for that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the rest of your family does.
Yeah.
That's more the attitude that we need. You don't got to be a believer in everything. But man, when you're wrong, just say I was wrong.
Right, exactly. It's so hard for people to do that, and
it is, even for me sometimes.
Yeah, for everybody. But the fact that he did that, I hope it leads way for other people that can finally say, okay, we're not scientists. Maybe we should take Fauci over Trumpy,
Right.
I don't know.
I don't either.
Yeah. But COVID is not a hoax was the point of that last part.
Right.
So please take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and we'll get through it.
Yes, please. Yeah. And I know there was probably a lot more theories, conspiracy theories that we didn't even touch on that we could have.
Yeah, but we ran out of time.
And there's a lot. It seems like each one of these I could go on about.
That's why I felt like, we got to move on from them so we could do more, but I could sit here and talk about each one of them forever.
Yeah.
But like I said, probably next week or the week after, we'll do the sex trafficking one, and that one will be only about that, and we can focus on that one in particular. So
good job.
Yes.
All right. Well, we hope that was a good one.
I thought so.
I liked it.
Yeah, I like to talk about different things, like that.
Yeah.
Different beliefs.
Well, before we say adios, we want to share your page really fast.
Yes, if you want to find out something about me, my blog, you can make an appointment with me. Just go to my website, SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. It's all
Sweet.
there.
And for me, if you want to check out my art, djonesartcollection.com for the web, and at djonesartcollection for Instagram and Facebook. And if you want to check out, I would say if you want to check out the music, you can, but it's not there yet.
No.
But gypsybrown.com for the web, at Gypsy Brown Music for Instagram, and at Gypsy Brown Band for Facebook. And we're still working, but it's getting there. I think we're wrapping up song number 2. And the ladies are coming in for this one.
Yeah.
Samantha and Marina and her friends, and do some laying down, cutting some tracks with the ladies. So I'm looking forward to it. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
But then they're wrapping up the second one. We've already moved on to 2 more, so we'll kind of getting a couple in the can, like 2 or 3, maybe.
Yeah.
Ready to go, and then start releasing one at a time. So
for sure.
I'm just teasing you guys along the way, but it's coming
soon.
Yeah, it really is.
Very good.
So that's all for me.
Awesome.
And we hope everybody got something out of this.
Yes.
We hope you guys have a great week coming up.
That we do.
And until next week,
Peace and love.